It, but back, I thought of the Parenti quote because your latest piece about kind of the intoxication of impeachment finally being over, and we have to reconcile with empire. I think empire is the one thing that's just kind of hard for the nation itself to reconcile with, because it is it's the hidden reality that we're never really paying attention to. On the left, we're definitely always trying to criticize it and call it out. But even in movies that we talked about just recently, like Judas and the Black Messiah, empire is never brought up at all.
No.
At which I don't know. We'll get into that later. A message that I got about that movie. I forgot to send you guys this email that someone sent me privately about that film that was kind of mildly shocking. But I want to read this quote from Margaret. This is from Margaret's latest essay, and I'll put a link up to this in the comments. Democracy is hanging on by a thread because of bipartisan support for neoliberal policies. Democrats and Republicans alike depend upon their respective donor classes and do their bidding. If the rulers want workers back on the job, and they do, they certainly don't want generous income support to become law. The simple fact must be kept hidden with lofty yet phony rhetoric about the U.S. being a good and honorable nation, ruined only by the presence of Trump in the White House. Yep. That's a quote from Margaret's latest essay on Black Agenda Report.
Yeah, it was called Impeachment Theater, and I wrote it. I have mixed feelings about the impeachment. I do think it was important to make the case against Trump. Actually, they should have impeached him before. He had been actively trying to undo the election. The Georgia Secretary of State wisely recorded his conversation, and we have to thank him for making it public. That's impeachable. So he should have been impeached several months before this riot on January 6th. So I thought it was important to say that the president can't use a mob to try to undo an election. Having said that, the divorce, not being honest brokers, use it for their own purposes, mainly to distract the public. And of course, Trump, being who he is, made it easy for them by with this this thing. I don't know what people say. It's an insurrection, a coup, right? I don't know what you call it. But in typical fashion, they make it all about him, that the country is fine, democracy is at risk. We don't have a democracy. We haven't had one for a long time. The little bit of democracy we have is voting, but we're told that's all we can do is vote, and we shouldn't expect to get what we want. So Trump is bad, Orange Man bad. We have to have Biden. And what do we get? $2,000 becomes $1,400. And Trump is the one who gave us the $2,000 figure. The Democrats had made a deal for only $600. And when Trump said 2,000, they were like, oh, yeah, we meant 2,000. But now it's, 2,000 minus 600. And you may not see it till April, and they may means test it. And student loan debt, well, you can forget that. I can't do that. $1 trillion that are owed by millions of people. The minimum wage, and the original plan was $15 an hour by 2025. So in like 4 years. Now Biden's even backtracking on that. So all of that shows the lack of democracy. Trump makes it easy, of course, that you can point to him and his actions. But Democrats subvert democracy all the time, constantly. And they work hand in glove with the Republicans. So this idea that there's some sacred democracy, and the Capitol was this sacred building, almost like a church or something, that was despoiled by this mob, when these people do what corporations and wealthy people tell them to, or they give wealthy people positions like Nancy Pelosi, who's worth more than $100 million.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who these people call the shots. So we can't act like the only threat to democracy came from some Trump-inspired yahoos. I think it's also important to point out that what they did is what the U.S. does all around the world. The U.S. is trying to undo. There was an election in Ecuador, for example, about a week or so ago. The leftist candidate won, but not by enough to avoid a runoff. So now the U.S. is involved with his opponent, trying to make sure this guy doesn't win. Or sanctions, which are war by other means, causing people to go hungry, to deprive them of food in Venezuela and Cuba and Iran and Nicaragua, Iran, Syria. People are going hungry in Syria right now as the U.S., speaking of empire, steals Syria's oil and has increased the already very harsh sanctions. So I think it's important for Americans not to think that they had that their hands are clean. The United States overthrows democracies all the time and undoes the will of people all over the world all the time.
I agree with so much what Margaret was saying, so much of that, and just want to add on because before it was early on primary season, there was some reporting out that Joe Biden, talking to a bunch of his donors, had a quote say, "Nothing will fundamentally change," and I'm actually a little surprised. I'm kind of dumbfounded at how quickly Biden was able to revert back to that position that was of which he was thinking. So a lot of messaging around supporting for Yemen, and then they even say, hey, like they're not going to, but there's these little national security caveats on there where they say, well, we're not going to support them for offensive measures. Well, we have the Department of Defense, and we are the most offensive empire that the world has ever known. And so recognize, just that whole, just as quickly as Biden's been able to spin and revert back any of the little tiny wins that the left was looking forward to, which supporting the war or not supporting the wars in Yemen, new immigration policy, all of these things. Biden, they at least said they were going to do the right thing. He said they were going to stop deportations. They've already got up to about 30,000 already. They're opening up new ICE camps. Yeah, this is. It's I am no longer able to even say well, at least Biden does this. There's not even the at least.
Yeah, Margaret, you brought up some really important points about the importance of Trump and impeachment. I wanted to ask you, as someone who has been writing about the politics of this, what's been going on with both the duopoly, is that, Jason, so Margaret got disconnected. I wanted to talk about the role in which people focusing on Trump as the focus in the center of all that is problematic in American politics creates a situation in which it opens up a space for the Democrats to implement policies that are similar and just tantamount to the same kind of damage that we would normally get from Trump or normal Republican, and how, particularly with the rise of Trump, there was this kind of feeling that get rid of Trump by any means. He's got to go. He's got to go. And the question I've always wondered is that, well, what exactly are the politics that we're going to support if everything is reduced to simply, we got to get rid of Trump?
That's just it. There is no politics in that. There's only only the fake like the fake faux wins, you know, and that's basically what everyone wanted, you know. Hey, Biden will win, and then they want you all to go back to brunch because, and this was scary.
It's kind of working because it's not working.
Yeah.
I think in the sense that we thought it was going to work. Excuse me. Where and first off, Margaret's having some connection issues, and this is the way we do talk shows now, right? In the new COVID era, unfortunately.
I feel like her contribution, it was incredible. I mean, like she dropped a bomb and it was just like, all right,
it was like, all right,
y'all fuck
All
with that
game.
a little bit.
It's interesting because I feel like the impeachment and now Ted Cruz and Texas is really helping with the brunch.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, when the discourse isn't empire, when the discourse is like, oh, Ted Cruz threw his daughter under the bus, what a shitty guy. It's like, well, yeah, I guess. But I think it's more interesting that when shit hit the fan, he felt very comfortable to go to Cancun, whatever the reason is. He felt very comfortable to be like, I'm out of here. This is not my problem. And when we go way back in time to before even Joe Biden got into politics, which, you know, that's what, 72, right? there was
1812.
I'm talking, if you know what, if you think back before the movie industry becomes a controlling factor, to be a great person, you had to do great things. And that was like I'm going to do this great thing. Even Herbert Hoover was known as like the great philanthropist because he fed, what was it, like 3 million Belgians or whatever it was. These guys don't aspire to even attempt to give you the illusion that they lead.
So what has been created was like an idea of the statesman or the statesperson.
Yeah,
and
that's a great concept. That's really, like, to interrupt. You know, the facade of the statesman. You know that's a very important concept that, you know, Marcus has just touched on. That, like, even when I didn't mean to interrupt you, Marcus, but I really want to just,
please, you're gonna say it better than I am.
Because, like, even what was the marketing that was used to convey to America that Biden was a more qualified and better option than Trump? It was the illusion of the statesman that, you know, I mean, one of the things that makes Trump is that Trump disturbs all of the traditional bourgeois notions of effective state management. In other words, when we look at Obama, who took us from 3 theaters of war to 7, caused one of the greatest increase of wealth inequality in major American history, going back to the Gilded Age, you know, helped cause 50% of Black wealth evaporated, you know, decimated, you know, hundreds of thousands of Black and brown teachers with pre-charterization, you know. But the thing is, though, Obama is loved because he was an effective statesman. In terms of what he was able to do for empire was so slick and smooth. His ability to maintain the bourgeois pretense of management was wonderful. But the thing that makes Trump so unconscionable in the minds of people is not so much what he's actually doing, is that he has no regard for the actual bourgeois pretense.
It's a lack of decorum.
Yeah, total lack of decorum. But Biden, who, you know, has been signing on to some of the worst politics we've had for almost 50 years, because he's the nice guy, he's supposed to be the actual, you know, more effective statesman when he's actually been part of the bipartisan consensus. So, I mean, that's a very important point. I didn't mean to kind of
No, yeah, I mean, I'm happy you did, because you say things a lot more eloquently than my ass does. So I appreciate, because, like, yeah, like, and just that's just what it is. It's like some people get to this role, they get, hey, I just won my second election as senator. Now I am a statesman just off of being here. just off of the title of United States Senator, right? And you look at Susan Collins, you look at Joe Manchin, you know, all of this walking the middle ground, absent of action of any like moral or critical thought of what's actually happening, just the desire to be in the middle. You know, that is this faux statesman type of idea that they're just trying to.
To hear the rest of this show and more, you can find us at This is Revolution Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Podbean, Pandora, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, every Wednesday, we have a new episode on the Zero Books YouTube channel. This is Revolution.